Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to The Walk. Today is Tuesday, August 12th, and we are up to Hebrews chapter 11, verse 20. This is called the faith chapter. If you haven't seen the previous videos, I recommend you go back so you kind of have that foundation of what we've been talking about. So we're up to the part where it's going through the forefathers and talking about their faith and the things that they have not seen. Yesterday we talked about Abraham and that Abraham was willing to sacrifice Isaac even though the Lord had promised him that a great nation would be made out of him through Isaac. And Abraham had full faith that somehow God was going to make it happen. Verse 20 of Hebrews 11 says, "By faith Isaac invoked blessings on Jacob and Esau." Cultural Study Bible had this to say, Jewish people recognized that Isaac's blessings were inspired and that they included predictions of the future as divinely led prayers. So, by faith, Isaac was able to predict a future that he would never ever see, that he would never get to come to fruition. Verse 21, by faith, Jacob, when dying, blessed one of the sons of Joseph, bowing in worship over the head of his staff. Cultural Study Bible said, Jewish people also regarded the blessings of Genesis 49 as prophetic. Now, if you go back and you look at Genesis 49, you're going to see that the blessing includes a prophecy that describes what each tribe of the 12 sons was going to really excel at, what each one is going to be doing. Verse 22. Verse 23. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hidden for 3 months by his parents because they saw that the child was beautiful and they were not afraid of the king's edict. Now, the king's edict, if you go back and you read it, it was to kill all of the male Jews that were born. But his parents had that reverential fear of God. They would rather obey God and take the risk of whatever punishment would be coming, and they hid Moses. The Cultural Study Bible had this to say. The writer follows Exodus 2, verses 2 through 3. Some other Jewish writers expanded the story of Moses' birth, especially his beauty, into reports that glory illumined the room when he was born. They knew it was a God moment. Verse 24, by faith, Moses, when he was grown up, refused to be called Pharaoh's daughter. Now, your family line was extremely important in that culture. The fact that he would not associate with that family and he preferred to be included within that Jewish culture is very significant. Verse 25, choosing rather to be mistreated with the people of God and to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. He considered the reproach of Christ greater wealth than the treasures of Egypt, for he was looking to the reward. So here's a reminder. This is not our home. That reward we're looking to is the New Jerusalem or heaven. This is what the ESV Fire Study Bible had to say. Every believer faces that recurring choice that Moses faced, to be identified with Christ and God's people, even though it may bring rejection and persecution, or to enjoy the momentary pleasures of sin and the feeling of freedom that may initially come from going our own way. We must keep in mind that our temporal choices have eternal consequences. Unlike Esau, who traded long-range good for immediate satisfaction, Moses traded momentary pleasure and privilege for a future long-range good. He was able to make the right choice for 2 reasons. He was a man with solid spiritual values, and 2, he was a man of spiritual vision. Verse 27, by faith he left Egypt, not being afraid of the anger of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. So, who is invisible? That's God. So he endured because he was able to keep his eyes on God and keep his focus on God. That's a message for us. Verse 28, By faith, he kept the Passover and sprinkled the blood so that the destroyer of the firstborn might not touch them. Now, that was a procedure that was completely new. People could have looked at him and said, this seems kind of odd. You're sprinkling blood on a doorpost and you're saying that death is going to pass us over because of the blood? And then Moses had to explain, yes, this is what the Lord had told me to do. And by faith, the people followed that procedure, and they were able to avoid having their firstborns killed. So what we've got to keep in mind here is faith doesn't always make sense. What God is telling us to do could seem completely out in left field to the rational brain. However, when we step out and we step out in that faith and we do it boldly, God shows up and shows off every time. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and keep walking the walk.